The following program contains politically irreverent commentary. If you suffer from an exaggerated sense of self-importance, this show might not be right for you. Check with a PhD in PC, ASAP.
Proclaiming the truth in the highways and byways of the world. Fighting for justice in the dark alleys of politics. Raising the voice of resistance to a fevered pitch. And he knows where to find the best and worst jail food in America. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your servant Randall. Yes, it is a performance. And as my critics will tell you, it's an art form. Oh, we've got a great show for you today, ladies and gentlemen, looking at what went wrong in this republic and what we need to do to get it back and the part that you can play in the restoration of the republic and protect your family in the meantime. Today's program brought to you in part by the Fed, the masters of the federal economic plantation, and by President Obama, the slave foreman on the economic plantation. Oh, look at those cute little ears. I'll be right back after a quick word from Joey the Hammer.
Do you like backgammon, chess, checkers, other board games? Or perhaps you're interested in leatherworking or pottery classes. Maybe you just like basketball or something even a little more leisurely like lawn bowling. We call it bocce ball where I come from. Well, no matter what your pastime of choice might be, we've got it all right here. Club Fed. If you need a roof over your head and 3 hot meals a day, where you don't have to worry about inflation for food or for the cost of electricity, this is your place to be.
Hi, friend. There's a passage in the scriptures that talks about the men of Issachar who were familiar with the times and knew what Israel should do. In other words, these were men who watched what was happening in the world and had the prudence based upon their knowledge of truth, their knowledge of the scriptures, and what was happening around them to have a clue on what to do. You see, there are things that are happening in the world, events unfolding before our eyes. The price of oil, the conflict in Libya, what's still happening in Afghanistan, the price of wheat, the price of corn. There are things that are happening that are going to leave some people in a crisis because they're not familiar with the times and they don't know what to do. The purpose of today's program is to look at how we got into this mess and what we're going to have to do to get out of it, so that hopefully you can be a part of the solution, not a part of the casualties. All right, let's go to our top story. For the first 100 callers, you're going to get one of these, a 1-ounce piece of silver. Oh, really? Where do I call? You've got to guess the phone number. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The first 100 of you that call, or Gary, give a close-up on this. You're going to get one of these, a 1-ounce silver dollar. This is U.S. currency, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that beautiful? The first 100 people who call the correct number get one of these. I'm joking. You don't get one, but you should go buy one. I want to talk to you today. I want to pick up where I left off yesterday and discuss what has happened to the American dollar and what's going to happen in spades over the coming months and years. As you know, recently, Brazil, Russia, China, and India all met to discuss creating a new reserve currency for the world. In case you don't understand that, the United States, according to the Bretton Woods system that was developed at the end of World War II, the United States was to have, and has had to this day, the reserve currency of the world. It's the benchmark for the whole world, okay? For example, oil is only traded in dollars. Well, there are people in the world of economics that recognize that the dollar is in big trouble. that the United States debt as a nation is becoming unserviceable. In other words, we're going to come to the point where we can't borrow any more money to make the payments on the money that we've already borrowed, okay? And because of that, they smell an economic crisis. And their sense of smell is correct. And so they're talking about creating a new world currency. If that happens, whether it's next year or 5 years from now, in a very short order, the value of the dollar will collapse. Now, Gary, do me a favor. Focus on this for a second here. I did this yesterday. I want to do it again today. This is a $20 bill. This is a 1 ounce silver piece. All right? It's actually a silver dollar. It was made in 2009. It's 1 ounce of 0.999 Troy silver. Okay? In October of last year, just a little over 6 months ago, or if you're watching this at a later date, in the fall of 2010, this could be purchased with this. Okay? As of today, silver closed at over $45 an ounce. Okay? Now you need 2 of these and a $5 bill to get 1 of these in just 6 months. What else has happened? The price of wheat has doubled. The price of corn has doubled. Not too long ago, all right, just months, not years, you could buy about 6 bushels of wheat for this. For a $20 bill, you could buy 6 bushels of wheat. Right now, wheat is trading in the $8 a bushel range. Okay? You cannot even buy 3 bushels for a $20 bill. But guess what? You can still buy about 6 of them with this. This has kept pace with inflation. This has not. This has. This doesn't buy as much wheat as it did 6 or 12 months ago. This buys just as much wheat as you could 6 or 12 months ago. Because this has intrinsic value. This piece of paper, it works because when you give it to someone, they have confidence that it will work when they give it to someone. That's how a fiat currency works. Now, the phrase fiat currency, say it out loud. Go ahead. Fiat currency. A fiat currency is a piece of paper with a number written on it, and it has the value of that number because the people in power say so. What does fiat mean? Fiat means just by declaration. Fiat, we say it, and so it is. This is called fiat money. This is real money. This has intrinsic value. If you melt it down, if you make it into a little square, if you make it into a rectangle shape, if you put it in transistors and in your radio equipment, or if you put it in your teeth, or if you use it to make medical equipment, it's always got value because it's intrinsic value. This is silver. Can you hear that? That's real money. This is fiat money. America used to have real money. You used to trade in silver and gold. You bought things with silver and gold. And then what they did was they went to a paper currency under the pretense of saying, well, it's so heavy to lug this stuff around, let's have money. So paper money, and for every 1 of or 20 of these, or whatever the number was, whatever the ratio was, we'll use the paper because it's easier to carry, and the gold will sit in a bank, in a vault. And then we went off of the gold reserve. Then we went off of where the paper money was actually tied to real metal, and it became fiat money. Monopoly money is fiat money. Now, when you go into a store, if you give them a $20 bill for Monopoly money, why don't they take it? They don't take it because they don't have the confidence that the next person is going to take it. But this always has value. So, if America continues down this spiral, if the dollar continues to decline, if inflation continues apace, all right, silver going up, corn, wheat, oil, beef, the value of this is going to continue to go down. The value of this is going to continue to go up as it relates to this. Okay? So, if you want to protect yourself against inflation, if you've got $4,500 in the bank, go buy 100 of these This is my advice. What's the thing I'm supposed to say? This is not legal advice. I am not qualified as an investment advisor. I'm giving you my opinion. No one should do anything really stupid like buying silver when you could hold on to these pieces of paper. I'm going to take a break. When we come back from this break, we're going to discuss how we got into this mess, the government we deserve, and the coming crisis and how we get out. Because I'm not sitting here wringing my hands, burying a bus in the ground. This is not an end of the world scenario. This is us eating our medicine and then coming out on the other side, hopefully, please God, a free republic. Don't go.
There's a yard sale in the neighborhood. We need parking. Let's buy the yard.
Moments with Moses. You shall be a horror to all the kingdoms of the earth.
Welcome back to the program, friend. I don't even know who said it. I've heard it so many times from so many sources, but it goes something like this. People get the government they deserve. I'll say it again. People get the government they deserve. Now, to be honest with you, I don't completely believe that, because as creatures of God, beloved creatures of Him, in some ways we deserve justice. That's what God wants for the world. We, in Our Father, in the Lord's Prayer, we pray, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So God has an order, a law, and He has wishes and mandates for us that are for our own good. So in some ways, that statement, we get the government we deserve, is a little cheeky, but the truth of the matter is this, and this is going to hurt. So if you'll stay with me through this segment and then go into the next one with me where I talk about how we get out of this mess, you're going to be happy. But this is going to be a little bit painful. You ready? Most of the people watching me right now, most of the people in the Tea Party, you ready? This is going to hurt. I'm warning you. We're socialists. We are full-blown, dyed-in-the-wool socialists.
No, that's an outrage. How dare you say that about me and about my family? We stand foursquare against socialism, and blah, Karl Marx was the devil incarnate.
Okay, stop. Let me ask you a series of questions. You ready? This is going to be the litmus test to see if you're socialist. Do you believe in food stamps? WIC, government loans for education, public education. Do you believe in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security? Are you willing to say, number one, we need to phase out as quickly and justly as possible every single redistribution of wealth? That's the Marxist term. Our clever term is entitlements. We need to phase out the entitlements, the redistribution of wealth, as quickly and justly as possible and end them. And we need to return charity and the care of the poor and medicine into the hands of individuals and families and civic groups and churches. In other words, the government needs to stop trying to be mommy and daddy and savior and church and Lord. Until you're willing to say that all of these entitlements, all of these acts of the redistribution of wealth, until you're willing to say that they all need to be phased out and completely eliminated, you're a socialist. And we're just dealing with degrees. Can I say the joke? Can I tell this joke on Christian television? I'll say it in such a way that won't be offensive. There was a man and a woman on an airplane, and the man asked the woman, would you have relations with a man who you did not know for $1 million? And she thought about it and said, well, yes, I think you would. And he said, well, would you know me for $100? And she looked at him and was offended and said, how dare you? What do you think I am? And he said, we've already established that, ma'am. We're just quibbling over the price. I know that's a bit offensive. Please don't be offended, but it proves the point. We've already established what we are. We're just quibbling over the price. How many good people that you know took the cash for clunkers deal? Socialism. Now your neighbor is paying for your car. How many people that you know took the government bailout for their mortgage? Now that your neighbor's paying for your mortgage. Go down the list, friend. We are a socialist nation, and we're kidding ourselves if we say we're anything but. And so part of this crisis that we're in, is that we've gotten the government we deserve. 50%, 50% of Americans don't pay any federal income tax. Yeah, we get the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. We get the bridges and the roads, the post office, the federal courts, but we don't pay for any of it. And now what Obama is saying is we've got to raise the taxes on the rich. Wait a minute. That sounds to me like, go ahead, say it, class warfare. It's based upon greed and jealousy. It's a hallmark of Marxist ideology, class warfare. And so if you, Mr. Tea Party activist, if you say that we need to raise taxes on the rich, you are showing yourself to be tethered to a socialist, a Marxist premise or ideology. And this whole mess that we're in is unsustainable. I've got to take a break, but I want you to let these words sink into the depth of your soul. Please, God, make people understand. The current situation that we have, the rate of growth of our national debt, the rate of growth of the entitlements programs, the rate of our plunging into money that we will never be able to pay back. This is unsustainable. Sooner or later, this airplane is going to crash, and the ground is coming up on us fast. Okay? And this is what pains me to say it. We deserve it. We deserve it because we listen to the lies of the Democrats and the Republicans both. We listened to their lies and we believed them. The Democrats told us they were going to take care of everything. We believed their lies. We voted them into power. The Republicans said we're going to fix everything. They lied to us and we believed them. We're getting what we deserve. We need someone to step up to the plate who has the guts to say this is unsustainable. And this is what we're going to do to get out. I'll talk about that when I come back from this break. Don't go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Pelosi and Terry B want to invite you to a party in hell.
The flame of Christian ethics is still our best guide. Only on this basis can we reconcile the rights of the individual with the demands of society. Sir Winston Churchill. Have you ever thought that the victory of truth depends in part upon the valor of her heralds and her guardians? In the last segment, I talked about the fact that most of us are socialists. That's a true statement, just based solely upon ideology and upon our current practices economically as a nation and in particular as a government. That's the truth. The question is, do we have the courage to say the truth? Do we have the courage to herald the truth in the public square? Oh, no, we can't say that. It would hurt people. It would offend people. It would make people so upset with us. Do you want truth to prevail? Or do you want to keep living a charade? Do you want to keep living a lie? You might notice that all over this library, which doubles as my studio, there are images of Winston Churchill. In tomorrow's show, I'm going to show you a piece of history about Winston Churchill. But in today's program, let me just say this. In 1934, when Hitler came to power, 35, 36, Winston Churchill had the courage to say the truth, that Germany was arming for war, that England's policy with Germany was suicidal and would lead to war, and that Germany was going to plunge all of Europe into a war, and that England needed to either hem Germany in with its other allies and destroy the Nazi government, or it needed to prepare for war. How do you think he was received in 35 and 36? He was mocked. He was vilified. He was called a warmonger. They said that he was not stable mentally, but he never flinched. And so, when Czechoslovakia was absorbed, and then Poland fell, and then France fell, and Europe was in what we now know as World War II, Churchill was the only major British statesman who did not have the blood of British soldiers on his hands. And they looked to him to lead, because he had the guts to say the truth when the truth was unpopular. Will you mimic Winston Churchill, or will you mimic Neville Chamberlain, who appeased, appeased, appeased? I'll be right back with a word from one of our founders. Both we and our fathers have sinned. We have committed iniquity. We have done wickedly. Thomas Jefferson said, "I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them." Oh boy. Thomas Jefferson would not roll over in his grave. He would leap out of his grave and start pummeling the people who are stealing our labor, stealing our wealth under the pretense of taking care of people. Look, the government that can provide everything you need is the government that can take everything you have. Let me close with some trite little saying that's absolutely true. I would rather die a half-starved free man than to live as a well-fed slave.